Hi, I'm Kyle from Serendipity, and today we're going to be doing some coding. So, let's get started. So, how the game of Pong works is you have two players, one shown in red here, one shown in blue. And how it's going to work is this ball, which is automatically programmed, will be bouncing from side to side. It can't pass through these paddles, which are moving right now, but if it touches the opposite color, it scores a point for that color. So you can see blue here is going to bounce and end up touching its color right over here. Then if it touches red, it'll score. Great. So today we're going to explore something called an if statement. So first things first is I want you to drag this if block, which is under controls, the orange one, and put it under when flag is clicked. So let's take an example. If today is Monday, then you're going to be going to school. And if it's a weekend, then we're going to stay at home and maybe watch TV. Same thing is if we click the right arrow key, that goes to the right, then we want to move to the right. So how we're going to do that is we're going to take our if from the orange control over here, and if, now what's going to happen? So we're going to go to the blue one called sensing now. If a key is pressed, and you see to ask us a question, is it pressed? It's trying to figure out if it is pressed. So if the right arrow is pressed, then what should we do? Should we go to the left, go up, go down? Well, we should go to the right, because arrow's going to the right. Now remember, how do we go to the right? Well, what we're going to do is we're always going to move positive when it's the right. So I'm going to take move 10 steps, and I'm going to put it right over here. So, to test this one, I'm going to show you my keyboard. You're going to have to press down the arrow key and click the green flag at the same time to see it go. So you saw that it moved just a little bit if you want to pay attention to over here. Now the question is, wait a minute, I got that we moved to the right side, but what happens if I keep clicking the right key? Keep clicking the right key, nothing happens, right? Well, we can see that we only told this to check if the key is pressed one time. We need to tell it to do more times. So what we do need is we need a forever loop. And what this forever loop will do is it'll always check, constantly check, if that key is being pressed down. So now, if we click the green flag, no matter when I press it, it will still move. So this is great. But what happens if I want to go to the left? How I'm going to go to the left is I'm going to take the same thing. If, now I want you to think about this. If the right arrow made us go right, how do we do left? Go ahead and pause and try this on your own. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our key pressed again. We're going to be looking for if the left arrow is pressed. So what happens if the left arrow is pressed? I want you to go ahead and think about this. Right and left are opposites. Opposite of right is left. Go ahead and tell me what the opposite of 10 is. I'll give you a hint. The opposite of 1 is going to be -1. Opposite of 5 is going to be -5. And if right and left are opposites, what's going to be the opposite of move 10 steps? Pause the video and go ahead and tell me. If you said move -10 steps, you're correct. So what we're going to do is if you click here, click go, you can see that whenever we move right, click the right arrow, we're moving to the right, and whenever we click left arrow, it's moving to the left. And that is exactly what we want it to do. Great, so now let's figure out how we're going to do player 2. So let's go back to player 2 again. So you go ahead and click on this side, and I want you to go to the part where it says when flag is clicked. So, if the A arrow is pressed, so I want you to look at the keyboard, A and D. A is going to be on your left side, D is going to be on your right side. So, just like earlier. If A is pressed, then we want to go to the left. If D is pressed, we want to go to the right. So let's first take on the right side, which is D. So we're going to check if D is pressed, and we're going to do that by selecting D. Now what happens if D is pressed? Remember, it's on the right side. I want you to pause the video and figure out what kind of motion we want. Remember, positive is always going to be going to the right. Pause the video, go ahead and try it. If you did the move 10 steps, you're correct. So now, if you hold down D and click the flag at the same time, you'll see that this blue paddle will move just a little bit. Let's watch that one more time. But I have to hold down my keyboard at the beginning. But what happens if we want it to be continuous? What if we always want to move D? So remember, if you want it to check forever, we have to put it into a loop. So I want you to go ahead and take a look at all these loops here, all of the orange ones, and tell me which one you should choose to check forever. Pause the video. If you said the forever loop, you're correct. So now you can see that whenever I click D, we move to the right. But hold on, there's a problem now. I moved too far. I need to move to the left side. So remember that A is going to be our left side. So how are we going to do that? I'll give you a hint. If A is pressed, then we're going to move to the left. So I want you to try on your own. Look at these orange blocks and tell me if A is pressed. Then do something. So get the if and the A part first. Pause the video. Go ahead and try that on your own. If you said if block first, and then you said A, you are correct. So we're going to take if, and what are we looking for? We're looking for if the A key is pressed. What happens if the A key is pressed? This one I want you to try on your own as well. If positive 10 steps was to the right, what should the opposite of positive 10 steps, the left, be? Pause the video, go ahead and try that on your own. If you said negative 10 steps, you are correct. So let's see. Whenever I move to the left, by clicking A, I move to the left. Whenever I move to the right, I click D, and you see that it works fine. I can move A, I can move D, and I can move both of them, and now you can invite your friends to go ahead and play a game. So now that we got our Pong ready to be played, you can see that when I move these, we got them moving and bouncing, everything's working just right. Let's figure out how we get our score. So you can see right now that if the ball touches the red side at all, we should give a point to red because this is the red goal. Over here, if it touches the blue side, it should be a blue goal. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go to where it says variables over here on the left, and we're going to change something by 1. So this is really important. If red scores, we should give red a score. So what we're going to do is we're going to change and give player 1 a score. So now you can see that if the ball touches the red side, you'll see that right over here that the player 1 score gets a number. So let's try this again. If we want player 2 score to increase by 1 when the ball reaches to the blue side, how do we do that? Go ahead and pause the video and I want you to try. If you said change and player 2 score, you're correct. So now we can see what happens if we move this red paddle and you see that the ball touches the blue. We see that player 2 also gets a score, as shown by over here. Oops. So let's restart and let's figure out how to say a good job. So if anyone scores, you would always say good job to the person that scores. And we're going to have our referee over here do the same. So we're going to go into looks, and under here we're going to say hello for 2 seconds. So let's see what happens. If player 1 scores, then we can see that the referee will say hello. But is it right to say hello, or should we say something like, good job to player 1, because player 1 scored? So when player 1 scores, remember that this means player 1 scored, we're going to say, good job, player 1. Now, I want you to pause the video and tell me what you think should happen if player 2 scores now. So go ahead, pause the video. If you said, good job, player 2, you are correct. So you can see now that when player 2 scores, that the referee will say good job to player 1 and player 2, and we get the fully updated scores over there. So, now you can enjoy your game, playing with your left and right paddles, and we can also get our score so you can tell who's winning and who just scored a point. So, we hope you had fun today, and can't wait to see you next time.